Hey guys, welcome back to Diaries of a 20-something, or if you're new here, welcome. It's a great place. I'm your host, Paige Marquez, and today we're going to be talking all about work-life balance and how it's relevant in our 20s. Throughout my life, I have had great experiences with work-life balance, and I've had terrible experiences with work-life balance. In our 20s, I think it's really crucial to talk about things like this because it's so relevant. I feel like in your 20s, that's when you normally start your first full-time jobs. And I know some people have full-time jobs in college and high school and whatever, but I think the vast majority don't, or I'm just completely out of touch. I have no idea. But it's a learning curve for sure, your first job in general. And it can be hard to adjust to working full-time and maintaining your social life and your mental well-being. And don't forget, as we dive into this topic, I would love to hear your experiences, so drop them in the comments below. Before we get super into this, I do want to touch on what work-life balance really is, because I feel like there is this stigma around work-life balance where everything has to be 50-50 or equally split, and that is just not the case. I think it means something a little bit different to everyone. Ultimately, I think work-life balance is about achieving a good rhythm between your work and social life that allows you to thrive in all areas. It's not about perfection, just like everything else in the world. It's just about having a healthy work life and a healthy personal life. It's more about allocating your time and energy to all areas of your life that really suits your needs and wants. You know, like sometimes your work life may need more attention and other times your personal life may need more attention. But with work-life balance, I think it is really hard to achieve it, and especially in our 20s, and that is why I am here to not only struggle achieving it with you, but tell you what I have learned. I feel like in this economy, you almost cannot get by without a little side hustle unless you are just winning financially. I mean, I feel like everybody has a side hustle in the beginning of their life. This happens to be mine, but I don't make any money from it. But it's still something that I do have to juggle. Like, the fact of the matter is that we all are so busy. Either we have a side hustle or we are looking for side hustles. Balancing a new job, a side hustle, and your own personal life can be a challenge. I think especially when you relocate to a new city, which a lot of people do, but even if you don't, I mean, it's overwhelming and it's intimidating. But I think with the right planning and the right preparation, everything will be fine. I think the key really comes down to time management, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your mental health and just your own mental well-being or physical well-being in general. We all want to do well and we all want to succeed, but the fact of the matter is that if we're not doing well mentally, we're not going to do well in work. That is just the fact. You are mentally unwell, you're not achieving all that you could. We have to shift the conversation and understand that mental health is just as important as your work, and one cannot go without the other. So I respect the hustle. I take part in the hustle, but we also have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Another challenge that I hear a lot is people feeling guilty for taking time off or taking personal days or whatever. I'm here to tell you, don't feel guilty for taking care of yourself. I took a personal day today. I was supposed to work today, but I didn't because I knew that I needed a little break. I worked almost 60 hours last week. It was a lot for me, and I just needed to sit back and relax. Plus, came at the perfect time because I was a little bit behind on podcasting, kind of stressing out about when I was going to find time to do this episode, but we figured it out. It is okay to take a day off, and it is okay to take a step back and just relax. It's okay to do nothing. That's something I feel guilty about all the time. I always feel so guilty when I'm not busy or when I'm not doing things because I know that there's always a list of things I could be doing, and God forbid I take a day to do nothing. I'm like, I can't do this. I get antsy. So instead of doing all of the mindless errands I need to run, I decided to dedicate the entire day to podcasting. And that is okay. That is the moral of the story. I think the biggest thing when it comes to work-life balance is being able to set boundaries with work. And I know that that can be a thing where you don't want to because, you want to impress your boss, you want to do well, you want to outshine your past performance and whatever. But boundaries are important in all aspects of life. Back in college, I worked for the apartment complex that I lived at, which was super convenient. I never had to commute or anything, but the downside was it was hard to create boundaries with a job when you never technically leave your job. I felt like I never left work. That job became really demanding really quickly. We got new management, and the newer management really took advantage of the fact that we all lived there. They would text us in the middle of the night, and it was just stupid. It sucked. They would text us during the day, hey, can you come in? I know you're home. It's just it's things like that where it can be very hard to set boundaries. It's just really important to create non-negotiable you time. For me, I try to dedicate 2 nights a week where I don't go on any dates. I don't make plans. I just focus on myself, take my time with my skincare, cook myself a nice meal. I think that really does help to ground you a little bit. But the thing is with work-life balance is it's flexible. It will change over time. I feel like now we're all in our entry points of our careers. And, like I said a little bit earlier, we're all really trying to impress our bosses. We're all really trying to climb the ladder. We're trying to outshine our past performance and make sure that we're being our best selves. But, once we meet the mid-level of your career and the senior level, it will change. I'm not saying it's going to get worse or going to get better. I think that fully depends on what field that you're in, but it will change. And it's not a set thing that has to stay the same. It's always going to be adjusting. What feels balanced right now may not feel balanced in 10 years or 5 years or 6 years. Flexibility and adaptability are key. A good example of this is in my job. We have busy seasons and we have unbusy seasons. Apparently, fall and winter are the busiest seasons, and then spring and summer are slower. So right now, work is everything. When I go to work, I have to make sure that I am 100% there and really trying my hardest to not only impress my boss, but impress myself to the point where I can be proud of myself, to the point where I don't leave feeling I wish I did better at work today. It is very rewarding doing well at work, but you have to be taking care of yourself. So during the off seasons, I may not have to put so much of myself into my job, not to the level that I am now. Or maybe I will, and it'll just be more fun and less stressful. Who knows? Point is, it's going to adjust, and flexibility is key. And we need to learn to adapt to these changes and grow with the changes so we don't get left behind. It's just being mindful of when so much of your energy should be put into work and so much of your energy should be put in your personal life. I think that there are circumstances of success and failure when it comes to finding your work-life balance. And I came up with a few that I have experienced or noticed or related to. I think success when it comes to work-life balance is setting boundaries, time management, and prioritizing your own mental health. A good example for me when it comes to setting boundaries, my hours are a little bit weird. So the days that I work 11 to 8 p.m. So it's kind of nice because I get a late start on the day. I don't have to wake up when the sun goes up. But then again, I don't get off till 8. So that kind of sucks. I make sure that I'm not thinking about work before I go to work or after I leave work. And if I do, only in positive ways. I'm not going to bring stress from work home with me. I don't think that's healthy. I think I learned that the hard way when I was working for the apartment building. And, on my off days, I'm normally focusing on the podcast because there's only so many hours in a week. And I will only let myself think about the podcast and worry about the podcast until about 5 p.m. But it's not super set in stone. It's just more this is the time where I'm going to do me time for the rest of the day. This is the time where I am done with work. I am not doing this anymore. But of course, there are variable circumstances. The last episode I was editing until midnight. So it's different, but I do try and stick with it. And I even did this in college when it came to school. I only worried about school until 6 o'clock. If I didn't get what I needed to get done by 6 o'clock, oh well, more to do tomorrow. But the thing is, you may think, what if you don't get everything done? But the thing is, when you set yourself a time limit like that, or a work day, or something like that, you always will get it done. I'm very motivated by to-do lists and time blocking. That has always really worked for me. So when I say oh, I'm going to be done with the podcast by 5, I probably will be. Another one is prioritizing mental health. And I am very, very lucky. My job is very good good with this. Like even today, I was not supposed to have the day off, but I was talking to my boss yesterday. I was like, listen, like, I just kind of need like a day and I'm not at work today. You know, like she's very good about prioritizing mental health and making sure that we all feel good. There was another circumstance where about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I have no idea. I was having like a crazy amount of anxiety at work and she let me go home early. You know, it's just like little things like that. Like she obviously cares. And I think that that's very important. But I know the reality that most jobs are not like that. So I have been very lucky. But even like with the podcast, like if I like have something fun planned, I'll do a vlog instead or in addition to anyway. But I've never taken a week off from the podcast since I started. I've always at least put out a good vlog. Not an idiot, and I am realistic, and I know that there probably will be a week at some point where I don't do an episode or a vlog, but I haven't had to, and I hope I don't have to. This podcast is my child. I love this podcast to death. This is like my everything. So if I don't end up doing an episode, I'm probably dead. I probably died. But that also comes with time management. I've always been really good at time management because I've always kind of time blocked my days and like relied on to-do lists. There's something about checking boxes off a to-do list that just really gets me excited, really gets me motivated. So I always do to-do lists. Those always keep me going and keep me motivated, but it's different for everybody, and I understand that. Once you find your thing that works for you, time management will come so easy. Learning to be efficient with your time is key. Do multiple things at once, seriously, because it works. Like my attention span is about the length of a squirrel's. So for me, if I have multiple projects I have to do for the day, I'll keep all the tabs open. And when I get bored of doing one thing, I'll just switch to the next thing. And at the end of a couple hours, all 3 of them are done. And I think when it comes to failure of work-life balance, we're talking about things like overcommitment, neglecting your personal life, and something I like to call the hustle culture trap, which I will get into. But overcommitment is something that's really hard to not fall into. I think especially in our 20s because we're working big girl jobs or big boy jobs. Don't want to leave anyone out here. We're constantly trying to impress people and move up the ladder and like set these expectations and keep these expectations and like your reputation and everything. Overcommitment probably affects younger us more than it will affect us later. For me, I have like this irrational fear of being fired. I think because for the first time in my life, I need a job to like afford my life. I never needed a job before. It was more just something I did for extra money, like fun money. I think that's where the anxiety comes behind being fired, but it is something that actually keeps me up at night. But when you overcommit, you're saying yes to everything and you are going the extra mile or trying to every time, doing everything that you possibly can to impress people and to do well. It sounds like a great thing, but there's something called burnout, which is something that I suffer from a lot. It happened to me multiple times in college. Burnout sucks and it's horrible. Like I remember the first time I ever experienced like real burnout was junior year of college. I was working a lot. I was taking this class that I hated. And between working a lot and the class I was taking, it was just horrible. And I actually was so depressed because burnout can look and feel a lot like depression, which I didn't know until then. But like, even when you're burnt out, your performance does decline, whether you think it is or not. I promise you, it is declining. You may not see it, but other people will. Or like kind of backpacking off of that, like neglecting your personal life because you're overcommitting. I think these two can be very connected. You don't want to neglect the things you do for fun, you know, like friends, hobbies, your health, like for crying out loud. I mean, your personal life is so important to your overall well-being, and if you're neglecting it by overcommitting at work, or your personal life is going to fall apart. There is this one quote from Devil Wears Prada, watched it the other night, where Nigel was talking to Andy and they were talking about how her personal life is hanging by a thread, and he was like, oh, that's what happens when you start doing well at work. I agree to that to an extent, but I don't think that that should be the actual reality. Yes, when you start doing really well in work, it's normally because you're putting a lot into it, but it shouldn't go at the cost of your personal life and your sanity. And that's what I have to say about that. But the hustle culture mentality is something that I'm really trying to stay out of right now. I'm doing my best. It is very, very, very hard because the thing is, between working full time and the podcast, I'm probably working close to 80 hours a week, and I have never worked that much in my life. I mean, even in college, I don't think I ever put more than like 15 hours of schoolwork into 1 week, like ever. So do I feel a little overworked? Yes, but it's also very rewarding. You know, this podcast is my baby and I love it and I would never give it up, but it's my side hustle. I was just telling my best friend this. I have never thought more about money in my entire life than I have in the last couple weeks. I am constantly thinking about money and how I can make more and how I can save better and just like maximize the money that I have and make it last as long as I can. And with that, whether I'm working or not, I am just constantly thinking about money, and it's a little bit exhausting. And that's why it's hard to not fall into this hustle culture mentality, because all I want to do is hustle and make as much money as I can and just be a boss bitch. It's definitely starting to take a little bit of a toll. It's just like a stress that won't go away. And I think it's normal, you know, like to an extent, to stress about money. But I don't know, like as I was growing up, I always watched my mom stress about money, and it really rubbed off on me to the point where even like when I was a kid, I would stress about her finances. And it's always kind of just like stayed with me, like stressing about money. But now that I'm like actually working and like making my own money and like, you know, learning like bills and everything, it's definitely a little bit shocking. That's something that I've been struggling with a little bit, but I know it'll get better. I just need to get a financial rhythm going. Like I said a little bit before, burnout is something that I've dealt with multiple times. I guess I'm my biggest enemy when it comes to burnout because I always do it to myself. I just over stress myself out so much and then try and overperform so much to the point where I can't anymore. And that's what I'm really trying to avoid right now, which is why I took a day off. All in all, work-life balance is a hard thing to achieve, but it is individual to each person. I think just learning about yourself and what you value and what level you value each thing on is going to play a huge role in figuring out what your work-life balance is going to look like. And for everybody that's struggling with work-life balance right now, don't worry, I am too. It is okay. We will get through this. We will find a balance. I'm definitely getting there. Even when I do have it figured out, it's always going to be something that you're going to have to put time into and effort into keeping it that way. We did not get any Dear Diary submissions this week. However, on that note, I have a question to ask you guys. What does balance in your life look like right now? That is what I want to know. Drop it in the comments. Make sure to follow the Instagram. This was Diaries of a 20-something, episode 18. I can't believe we're here. Stay tuned for next week, because next week I'm going to be talking about all the things I wish I knew before uprooting my entire life and moving. For all who don't know, I live in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's a very new thing. I've been here for officially a month now in my apartment. So we're going to go over all the things I wish I knew. And then episode 20, I have a very, 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 very fun episode planned. And I really hope you guys find it fun as well. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me. I cannot believe we've come this far. And I don't know, I know it's small, but we have been gaining some traction on the podcast, and it does make me really grateful and just really excited. So thank you guys so much for watching, commenting, liking, following the Instagram, whatever you do, however you contribute. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next Friday.